Whisky.de. Treffpunkt feiner Geister.
Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei Whisky.de, dem Treffpunkt feiner Geister. Und heute bin ich in Windsor, Kanada, und hier ist der Geburtsort vom Canadian Club Whisky. Eine sehr berühmte Marke. Und in diesem Brand Center lernt man viel über die Geschichte und die Herkunft von Canadian Club Whisky. Gleich im Eingangsbereich sieht man eine Column Still, die darstellt, wie der kanadische Whisky gemacht wird. Das Besondere am Canadian Club ist, dass die einzelnen Getreide einzeln gemasht und fermentiert werden und dann nach dem Destillationsprozess erst geblendet werden und dann zusammen im Fass abgefüllt werden. Hiram Walker war ein Amerikaner, der 1856 nach Kanada emigriert ist und kurz hinter der Grenze 1858 die Hiram Walker Distillerie gegründet hat, die heutzutage den Canadian Club Whisky brennt. Unglücklicherweise wurde die Brennerei einzeln verkauft und so gehört nun die Brennerei dem Pernod Ricard-Konzern und die Markenrechte dem Beam Suntory-Konzern. Die Rückseite des Gebäudes ist sehr schön und von dort aus kann man auch die Skyline von Boston sehen und das war auch genau der Punkt, wo dann die Canadian Club Brennerei ihren Whisky an die Schmuggler verkauft hat, die ihn dann rüber nach Boston schmuggeln wollten, wo der Alkohol in den 20er Jahren verboten war. Das Gebäude ist nicht von 1858, sondern von 1894 und wurde errichtet als eins der Bürogebäude, um den Verkauf, den Vertrieb und die Produktion vom Canadian Club zu managen. In den geführten Touren erfährt man sehr viel über die einzelnen Büros, in denen dann die verschiedenen einzelnen Businessleute gearbeitet haben. So sieht man das Büro von Hiram Walker, der dort gearbeitet hat, und auch von mehreren seiner Söhne, die dann später die Produktion und den Vertrieb von Canadian Club Whisky übernommen haben. Während man durchs ganze Gebäude läuft, sieht man eine Menge Bilder und auch eine Menge Flaschen, die alte Jahreszahlen drauf haben und noch in sehr alten Schriften abgedruckt wurden. Und die stellt so das Vermächtnis der Marke Canadian Club dar. Sehr interessant ist natürlich auch, dass die Canadian Club Brennerei 1858 gegründet wurde. Nur 1858 gab es noch keinen Staat Kanada. Kanada wurde erst 1867 durch 3 Kolonien gegründet. Deshalb sind hier manche Dinge, die dargestellt werden, auch älter als das Land Kanada selbst. In diesem Raum befinden sich dann noch wertvolle Kunstgegenstände, die sich über die Jahre angesammelt haben und einige wurden auch hier zugekauft, um hier einen schönen kleinen Raum aufzustellen, der mehr als Museum dient und auch sehr, sehr schöne Gegenstände hat und eigentlich wert sind, selbst deswegen die Canadian Club Brand Center zu besuchen. Und hier ist dann ein Regal mit Flaschen aus den 1920er Jahren von Canadian Club. Nein, weit gefehlt. Dies sind Fälschungen. Während den 1920er Jahren, wo Canadian Club geschmuggelt waren, gab es natürlich viele, die auf den Zug aufgesprungen sind und Canadian Club gefälscht haben. Es sind genug, um ein Regal zu füllen. Natürlich hat die Canadian Club Brennerei auch noch alle anderen Flaschen da, mit verschiedenen Sonderabfüllungen, sehr alten Flaschen, Miniaturen, Krügen und hier sehen wir dann auch noch sehr viele Ordner, die dann verschiedene Werbung und verschiedene Flaschenlabels beinhalten. Auf dem Regal steht eine ganz besondere Reihe von Flaschen. Das sind die Flaschen für die verschiedenen Länder, hier Deutschland. Und diese Flaschenabfüllungen sind ein Zeichen dafür, dass Canadian Club eine internationale Marke ist, die weltweit verkauft wird. Und diese Länder sollten sich dann geehrt fühlen, dass Canadian Club eine besondere Abfüllung ihrem Land widmet. Das Gebäude wurde renoviert, aber noch in dem alten Stil gelassen und alles so aufgemacht, wie es früher war. Wenn man durch das Gebäude geht, lernt man nicht nur über die Historie, sondern auch über den Prozess, wie der kanadische Whisky hergestellt wird. Am Ende jeder Tour kann man dann noch die aktuellen Abfüllungen von Canadian Club probieren und schauen, was denn eigentlich hinter Canadian Club in ihrer Flasche eigentlich steckt. Nachdem Sie die Tour gemacht haben und das Tasting gemacht haben, empfehle ich Ihnen noch beim Shop vorbeikommen, da gibt es viele nette Gegenstände und auch T-Shirts. Das Canadian Club Brand Center ist so schön, dass sich mehrere Paare schon entschlossen haben, ihre Hochzeit hier in diesem Gebäude durchzuführen. So, jetzt machen wir noch ein kleines Tasting und das wird auf Englisch stattfinden. So I'm sitting here with Tish Harkers, 26 years in the company.
That's right.
And you are a brand ambassador for Canadian Club.
Yes.
That is a long time, so thank you for having us. And what kind of whiskey are we enjoying today?
Well, you're in the house of Canadian Clubs, so we're going to have all Canadian Club whiskies. We're going to start with our youngest variant, we call this Canadian Club Premium. Now, to be called a Canadian whiskey, you have to be aged for a minimum of 3 years. Okay. This is 5 years old, and this is our youngest. Next, we're going to try our Canadian Club Classic 12 years. So this is 12 long years in the barrel. Okay. After that, we're going to try our Canadian Club Sherry Cask. And this one's really unique and interesting. It's aged 8 years in oak and then transferred into a once-used sherry cask that we get from Spain. And then lastly, this is a new one for us. We launched this October last year. It has won International Canadian Whiskey of the Year. It won a big award, and it also won a double gold at the San Francisco Whiskies of the World competition. So this one has got, there's two unique production points with this one that sets it apart definitely from the rest of the portfolio. Okay. So if we'd like to grab the top glass.
Top glass.
Okay. And this one here, again, is our Canadian Club Premium Whiskey. I always like to start with the tastings by asking you to give it the swirl. So swirl it around inside your glass, okay? What you're going to look for is how full-bodied this whiskey is, okay? So some of these whiskeys that are younger and not as full-bodied, the tears will come down very fast and thin. This is not a full-bodied whiskey. So what you want is you want to see nice, thick tears coming down slowly. And you see this is what happens with this whiskey. The tears come down very slow, they're thick. That means that this is a very full-bodied whiskey. All right?
Okay, so it's the viscosity that...
Exactly. Okay. So you see the tears are just starting to come down now, right?
Oh, now they come down.
Right. Okay. We also, there's a process that we use when we are bottling, before we put it into the bottle. It's called flocking. Flocking. It's a filtering process. And what we're trying to do you see how there's a nice sparkle to this whiskey? There's about 100 filters, little thin filters, and we push the whiskey through there. And because we don't want to, when you think about whiskey, it's made up of grain, but we don't want any grain particles in there. Okay. So some whiskeys you see, they're a little bit cloudy. They have not done this process. So we, again, going back 157 years, our founding father discovered that when you flock the whiskey, that you're filtering it without taking any of the taste out of it, but you're making it, it's a nice, it's very appealing to people for Canadian Club whiskey to look like this because in the glass it sparkles. Okay. When we're going to nose this, try and judge a half an inch from the rim, okay? And make sure you part your lips.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's a fruity flavor.
Fruit, that's exactly what Canadian Club's known for. It's fruity, there's some caramels and toffees in there. Okay? And I do have room temperature bottled water there for you, but I like to prefer to get the full attributes to try it straight.
How many ABVs are we looking at?
Looking at 40 ABV here.
40 ABV,
yes,
okay.
Yeah. Okay, it goes into our barrel at 144 or 72 ABV. And it'll only reduce strength maybe the first 1 or 2 years. It'll come down to 70. And then, of course, after 5 years, we bring it back and bring it down to 40.
Okay.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
This brand here, last year we picked up another gold medal. This, from the very first day it was created, 157 years ago, was made to offer a zest, an experience. So some people that are not familiar with whiskey tastings will say, oh, it burns. We never say that word, burn, because that's a negative description.
I wouldn't say it burns. I would say you have what I find here interesting is that you have a long-lasting fruitiness. I don't quite find that much vanilla, but a lot of fruitiness, and for me it lasts longer than I had in other whiskeys before. Yeah. So great stuff.
Yes, thank you.
So what is it made of? Like what type of grain?
Oh, the grains we use are, of course, corn. Corn is the least expensive of all the grains, but it produces the highest yield.
Okay.
And then we call that the base whiskey, and then we have flavoring grains. That would be rye malt, and barley malt.
Okay. So do you distill them separately?
Yes.
And then blend them?
Blend them before aging.
Okay, before aging.
That's a unique characteristic just for Canadian Club whiskey. We're the only Canadian that can do that. Okay.
Oh, interesting. So that's a different type of production.
It is, and it really adds to the palate, to the finish and the palate of this whiskey.
Okay.
The other Canadians are not allowed to do that. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
great.
So that's our CC Premium. If anyone asks me, how would you consume this? I would say neat or on the rocks, or with a little splash of ginger ale. Good quality ginger ale. Never Coke, because whatever you mix with Coke tastes like Coke. You can mix dirt with Coke, it's going to taste like Coke. So we always suggest a little splash of ginger ale, but this is very versatile. In the summertime here, it gets very warm, very humid and warm here. We will mix it with cranberry juice, with iced tea.
Okay.
So it's an international brand. It's available in over 165 countries around the world. It's everywhere.
Okay.
So it's a nice brand.
Okay, so I did a bit of reading before I came here.
Yes.
And I found out you got a lot of royal warrants from a lot of kings and queens of England.
Yes.
And you know the Scottish distillery Royal Lochnagar.
Yes.
Did you ever consider calling yourself Royal Canadian Club?
That's a great question. We do have a lot of royal warrants. The first royal warrant came to us in 1898 from Queen Victoria. And she drank a lot of CC, a lot of Canadian Club. We never considered, our founding father, Hiram Walker, when this name was created back in the 1882, he never wanted to change it. Now, to let the world know that we had a royal warrant, he put the crest on every label.
Okay.
So by putting the crest on and not changing the name, you still knew that we had a royal warrant from the Queen. So that was our founding father's way, without putting the name royal in there.
So you would have not been allowed to put the crest on without the royal warrant?
That's right. That's
okay.
right. Yeah,
so
we didn't have the
it
crest.
kind of is on there.
It kind of is, exactly. The crest is not, the word is not. But yes, it's on there. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
All right, our next whiskey, this one here is our Canadian Club Classic 12-year. This one was launched back in 1984. And the reason why our master blender wanted to launch this is because vodkas were becoming very popular, single malt scotches were becoming very popular over here in North America. So he wanted to create something that was going to be super, super premium. So, again, to be called a Canadian whiskey, you have to be aged for 3 years. This is 12 years, 4 times the legal limit, all right? Now, in this whiskey, we have less corn, a little bit of rye malt, a lot of barley malt, okay? Barley malt is this very decadent grain that is almost toasty. It's softer than a rye. And so this is a very, very beautiful whiskey. This is a sipping whiskey. We do not suggest you do anything with this except sip it neat or sip it on the rocks. So the nose on.
A lot of malt in there. Okay, so
a lot of barley malt.
A lot of barley malt.
Yeah. So again, it's deep in color, and it's
dark.
it's a little bit softer on the nose There's more caramels, butterscotches in there.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
simply because it's been in the barrel for 12 long years. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more buttery
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, but still a bit fruitiness in there.
A little bit.
Not as strong
Not as
with
much.
it, but
Mm-hmm.
you can smell the oak as well.
Mm-hmm. And again, all of these whiskeys are very soft oak. And why is that? Because all of our barrels are once used by our sister company in Kentucky.
Ah, okay. So you always use used barrels.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that longer maturation.
Yes, yes. So our bourbon sister companies in Kentucky will use them once, and then they ship them to us.
Mm.
We give an aggressive char, a number 4 char, so we're burning off all the bourbon, and we're exposing all the fresh wood and all the sugars that are in that wood, and the tannins and the vanillas and everything. So, but that's why you have very slight hint of oak on all these whiskeys, because the barrel has been used once.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Even smoother.
Yes.
Also, I guess also 40%.
Yes, 40%.
Mhm.
Yes. Very smooth, very, very full bodied, nice. Everything is happening at the same time on your palate,
Mhm.
and you're left with a nice long finish.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would say it's a combination of oak and fruitiness.
Yes, yes.
But I'm not sure what's dominating.
Now,
Bit
do you feel
oak,
the
I'd say.
softness on the top of your palate?
Yeah, it's
That's where this one lands more, on the top of your palate.
it's not like dryness. It's like
No.
a little, just a very very soft coating or something.
Yes, yes.
Hard to explain.
Yes, yes, yeah. It goes back to being the full-bodiedness of it. See, you don't have the aggressiveness of the corn because there's a small amount of corn in this one,
Mhm.
and you have all of that beautiful barley malt in there. So that's another reason why you
Mhm.
don't have. I called it the zest with the first whiskey.
Mhm.
You have little zest with this one, but you have a really nice, soft. And still, as I'm experiencing it, as I'm talking to you now, I still experience it. But I describe it as being toasted. It's a toasted palate that you're left with on this one.
Mhm. Great.
Excellent.
Okay. So sherry cask.
Sherry cask.
So you said you use used cask. Do you always use used cask?
Yes, yes. Well, yes, up until last year. So
Okay.
when we get to the next one, I'll describe. So the first 3, the next one we're going to try, always once used bourbon barrels. All right?
Bourbon barrels. Okay.
This one, I love this one. This one is my favorite, and I worked closely with the master blender on this one. Canadian Club Sherry Cask. We launched it in 1992, and we were watching what was going on in the spirits industry around the world. And a lot of single malt scotches will finish in a quarter cask or a sherry cask. So we called our sister company, Harvey's Bristol Cream, in Spain, and we said we're experimenting over here, and to ship us 100 once used sherry barrels. Okay, so the start of this, the base of this whiskey starts with this one here. Okay, CC Premium, but instead of taking it out of the oak barrel at 5 years, we leave it in oak for 8 years. And then after 8 years in oak, we take it out of oak, transfer it to a once used sherry cask, but we don't char the sherry casks.
Ooh,
So
okay.
it stays in there. The whiskey will stay in there for 1 year. And what happens is every day that whiskey will go into the wood and it comes back out and it brings all the, the Mediterranean fruit flavoring, the figs, and that's because of the sherry. And so you're left with a 9-year-old whiskey. So it's 8 years finished for 1 year in sherry. So it's a 9-year-old whiskey. We bumped it up a little bit in proof. We wanted to make this, again, a super premium. It's 41.3%. Okay.
Okay.
And again, it's done in batches. Both the last one that we tried, Classic 12, done in batches. So we don't produce as much of these whiskeys as we do this one here.
Okay.
But what is really unique with this one, every batch is different. Not because of the base of the whiskey, because of the sherry barrels that we get from Spain. Every one of them, some have a little bit more sherry, some have a little less. So this is batch 42 that we're going to try.
Okay.
And this is a really nice one. Now, for my palate, I like number 2 and number 18. Maybe you like 25 and 26.
Okay.
This is 42, so this is becoming one of my favorites as well. So sherry cask, you see the color definitely has a little bit of redness to it.
Yeah.
That's
definitely.
the sherry. Okay. The nose.
Yeah.
Fruity.
Grapes in there.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Also
It's got like raisins, like sultans.
dried fruit. Some.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I need to buy some raisins sometime to get the right nose, because I can't say which dried fruit that I smell here, but it's definitely something dried.
Yes. I get figs right away.
Figs.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the caramels come through a little bit, but it's the strong presence of these fruits that come through first.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. I like the mellow style of the Canadian Club.
Yes.
Works quite well with the fruits.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yeah. This is an incredible whiskey. We introduced it into South Korea back in 2007, and they liked it so much so that they took all the inventory we had in North America. So we had a little problem with this. North America, for about 6 months, we didn't have any inventory. But they created a new style of how to drink this, and it's called 2-2-2. 2 ounces of whiskey, okay?
Okay.
2 clean rocks. You know those new ice cubes that are 1 inch square?
Okay.
Okay. As long as the ice is less than 24 hours old, and then let it sit for 2 minutes. 2-2-2.
Okay.
Perfection.
Okay.
So that's the only way that I enjoy sherry cask. I used to drink it just neat.
I really like it. So,
Yes.
there's no law in Canada to do anything like with the bourbon, like you have to have fresh oaks or something. Or
You can add up to 9% of another spirit,
okay.
as long as it's aged for 2 years. It has to be
Okay.
aged for a minimum of 2 years.
Okay, so every Canadian whiskey is at least 2 years old.
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
And
But you
what
can add
Mm-hmm.
another type of spirit as long as it's aged for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So we're not really adding sherry to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's pulling the sherry out of the wood. So because it's happening inside the barrel, legally we're okay. So you can't touch the product when it's in the barrel.
Yeah.
So because it wouldn't be called Canadian whiskey at that time. At
Yeah.
that point. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Excellent. And the last one is 100% rye. It's a bit
100%
different.
rye. Yes, brand new. We launched it last fall, October 2014.
Mm-hmm.
This whiskey is something that, again, we always pay attention to what's going on around the world when it comes to spirits, especially whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was happening 3 years ago, rye started to become very popular again. And this industry goes like this. It's either vodka's really popular, or in Canadians down here. Now that Canadian whiskey is very popular, vodka sales are slipping. So right now it's our time. So we launched this 100% rye. It's only rye. There's no corn, there's no barley, there's nothing else in here. This is Canadian 100% rye.
Okay.
Incredible whiskey. Now, the two differences, because you did ask me about, do we always age in used barrels?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the difference. This one goes into brand new wood.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
this is a new one.
That's right.
Okay.
The second difference that sets this apart, that there's a high portion of the rye is only done in a copper pot. So it doesn't go through a still. It's just a copper pot. So the difference between the still will strip it down, we'll make it too clean. We didn't want that. We want this very flavorful whiskey, so we didn't put it into a column still at all. It's only done in the pot still.
Do you have one pot still, or do you do double distillation with
We
pot still?
have the world's largest pot still at our plant out in Calgary, Alberta.
Okay.
So they make this whiskey for us. They ship it back here to Walkerville, Ontario, and we bottle it here on site.
And where do you mature it?
We mature it here as well.
You matured here.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the difference, another difference with this, when people will say, what's the age? And we don't really talk about the age because it's aged to taste.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that it's about 4.5 years old. So you have to be aged for 3 years. This is about 4.5 to 5 years.
Okay.
But more importantly about the age is the proportion of pot distilled rye, 100% rye, and the new wood.
Mm-hmm.
So the nose on this, right at the start, there's a lot of wood, there's a lot of oak in there. The sweetness is because of the rye.
Also get a bit of spices, but
Spice, yes.
it's more like a spicy bread.
And when I did the tasting notes for this one, I always try and stay away from spice, the word spice, because people will relate that to food. They don't really relate it to whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So I talk about the robustness, and I talk about the flavor of rye. Rye is a small little grain that has a very thick skin, and it's very hard to manufacture. So when you break it down, but it's very, very bold in taste. It's a bold tasting.
Yeah, that's what I mean with spiciness. You know, when you
Yes.
have a rye bread,
Yes.
that is, yeah,
Yes,
it's
definitely.
a very corny
Yes.
and intense flavor, but it's not like chili or like
No.
pepper. It's
No, not spicy like that. That's right. That's right. So, cheers.
so cheers.
So you get a lot of zestiness on your tongue. That's that robust rye. And very soft.
Yeah, softness, but a little glowing inside the
Yes,
mouth. But
yes.
in the back, you have that softness. So I'm amazed how you the mouth feel with Canadian Club is very different. I find the taste profile is more mellow, easy drinking.
Yes.
But the mouth feel is very soft. It's not that attacking on parts of your
That's right.
your mouth. So
That's right, yeah.
I like that quite a lot.
Yeah,
So,
that's part of that high portion of pre-barrel blending. And you know, think about if you're making. Well, you mentioned chili. You know, chili. You get the pot and you brown the meat, and then you start putting the ingredients in, and over 3 or 4 hours, all the flavors and all those ingredients will marry together. It's the same idea with these whiskeys. So you have the corn, the rye malt, the barley malt. Yeah, over the course of 5 years, 12 years, so the different years, they marry. So every second of every day, for 5 years or 12 years, those flavors are marrying together. And so it's so much more of a smooth palate. So
this marrying of the different distilled grain spirits, is that a heritage that you got from when the brand started?
yes, 157 years ago. Yes, Hiram Walker created that. He wanted to create a new style. So what was happening in the United States, see, he came here and nobody was here. This was all farmland. So, but in the United States, rum was very big. Bourbon was starting to become popular. But here in Canada, he wanted to make a new style because not everybody has, those are, bourbons and scotches are big. You have to have a big palate. And not everybody has a big palate. So he created a different style that anybody can enjoy.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, I like the brand scent that you showed me,
Thank you.
I showed on the tape. So thank you for having us.
You're welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure.
And if you're ever in Canada or around this region, then I highly advise you to come here. It is a great place with a lot of history, and there are arts in here. So come on by and have a drink of
Yes.
Canadian Club. And yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
And if you like this video, then please give me a thumbs up. Thank you and goodbye.